Hi everybody, Miss Jennifer here with 4 kids, and it is time for another STEAM lesson. So we've done a lot of different things. We've talked about spectrums, pattern, symmetry, and then we talked about ratios and division, and we got more complicated over here. And we're going to kind of go with kind of combining a couple of these ideas to make this card. Now, let's go ahead and get started right away. You're going to want to have some either Sharpie, fine tip, thick tip, gel pen. You could just even use a black pen. I recommend using ink though, because it's really nice to have this rich black and white together. So ultimate contrast. You could do it even with a pencil, like how I did this one here. So if you only have a pencil, it will work. So let's go ahead and get started. As we learned with the checkerboard, we are going to use division, and we're using our eyeballs to learn to see. So you could measure it with a ruler, but you'll find you can't get exact squares in this shape. Now, if you want to do one with exact squares, you could cut a different shape, but because we're doing artist trading cards, I'm kind of stuck with this format. But what I'm going to do here is just divide it in half. Notice I'm going very lightly because I might want to adjust it. And then, so once I've divided it in half, and I've got it landscape view, then I'm going to divide it in half again and again. Now, how you can test your eyes is to see if it's if they all look like they're the same. If these lines are parallel to your edges, then you're good. Remember, parallel is a mathematical concept that two lines will never ever touch. So they go into infinity. So if it gets narrower here, that means you don't have parallel lines. Okay, now we're going to flip it this way, and we're going to divide into thirds. So we just need two lines to divide it into thirds. And the reason why I try to get the students to do it in this way is because I want them to learn to see, and also to realize that the more you do, the more you can eyeball it with accuracy. Now I can see that this one is a little bit bigger, so I'm going to change that line right there. And now I'm kind of happy with it. What do you think? All right, so that's it. Now we've got our square set up. Now, do not take your pen and draw in these lines. That is not what we want to do. What we're doing is we're using a binary system of it's either black or it's white. It's never both. And inside of each cube, we are going to put a shape. Now, I use squares, circles, and triangles on this, and we can go ahead and start with that. But actually, you could do it with anything you want. It does not have to be these shapes. But I'm going to go ahead and stick with this just to keep it simple so I don't mess up on the video. All right. So what you want to do is if you're not sure which line you're keeping, you can do some erasing, but do not draw it with a pen, remember. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start it just exactly like how I did on this one. And you want it to be kind of in the middle of that shape. So this is a square shape, and I'm going to put a triangle in the middle of it. Like that. Make sense? All right. Now, so come straight across to the next one for my circle. And I'm going to let it occupy the same parallel. You know, I could even draw like this if I wanted to. I don't know if you could see that on the video or not. But you could go ahead and draw those lines in if you want to make it super accurate. If you're a perfectionist, I did not do that on here, which you can probably see. But anyway, if you do it, then you'll already have your top and your bottom of your square to go right there. All right, perfect. Now, when you do a pattern, so our pattern is going to be triangle, circle, square. Now we're going to alternate it or move it one over. So that means the triangle is going to go here. So if we put our triangle here, And I try not to get too far ahead of myself and just kind of let it unfold. So what comes after the triangle? The circle. And this, when you do this, actually make it yourself. You learn a lot more about patterns and how they start to repeat. And so that means this one has got to be what comes after the circle, the square. And see, I'm lining these up here at the bottom. All right, so we're getting a lot of different practices doing this. Okay, so let's stay with starting with the triangle. So we're going to start this, or we could do it this way. What comes after, wait, oh wait, okay, we could do it this way. Triangle, square, circle. So we know we got to do circle next. And so we know what comes after circle is square. So this is like one step above what we did before, because we just had a binary, but now we're introducing a third element, different shapes. Okay, circle, square, triangle. Now if we did it right, you'll notice that these start to line up diagonally. So that's really cool, right? Like we didn't try to do that, it just does it its own self. Now, yeah, it goes this way diagonally, but it does not go this way diagonally. This repeats the pattern. Okay, it gets a little bit confusing. As you can tell, I am not a mathematician, but I think it's fascinating how it works out. So what comes after triangle? Circle. Okay, we got that there, so that can't be right. So that means if we do triangle, square, circle, triangle. There we go. So what comes after triangle? Circle. What comes after circle? Square. And if you want to be real precise, you can double check to see if all your things line up like this. So this one comes a little bit outside. And you can straighten out anything you need to. Once we get started with our ink, then it's not going to work. But isn't that cool how it goes? See? Okay, so the pattern, once you set it up, you repeat it the same way every time. Triangle, circle, square. Triangle, circle, square. Triangle, circle, square. Triangle, circle, square. Okay, now we begin, and I'm gonna flip it this time, so my cards are opposite. So before I colored in the triangle black, but this time I'm going to color in the negative space. So the negative space is the space surrounding the triangle. Now, I'm actually going to probably use 2 Sharpies because I want to be very precision on this. I'm not a very precision artist, but in this case, it's kind of important. So I'm going to draw inside that line. So not outlining it so much as drawing inside of it. I'm going to draw outside of the shape too, so my shape will stay the same size that I want it to be. Okay, and now that I have it pretty precision, I'm going to come in with my fat Sharpie and color it in. This is just a faster way, but I want these points to be exact. That's why I use the skinny one. So if you're using a crayon, it's going to be hard to do that. And if you're little, don't worry so much about it. It doesn't matter. The pattern is still going to look good. But for you older ones, I want you to really concentrate on not having, I don't want this black to go outside of my box, the space that we're allotting for it. Okay, perfect. Okay, pretty neat, huh? So now, we're going to have a black background, a white background, a black background, a white background. And just like before, we're never going to have those two touch. So if this background is black, this background must be white, and this must be black. So because it's a simple shape, notice I'm going nice and slow here because I'm trying to be careful. I can't really erase with the pen, right? You could go over it with white out, but it won't look that good. Okay. It'd be easier just to start over completely. Now I see that this is a little bit further over on the side, but it's okay. I'm just starting to get really picky. which is not necessary. And again, you can be as picky as you want to be. It's your artwork. It's going to look good either way. So once again, I need all that white to be inside that square, and I'm going to need all that's black to be inside of this one. And don't forget to get all the way to the edge, unless you draw a border in there, that's a whole nother thing. I did not do it on this particular assignment because I like it going all the way to the edge and using up all the space. And there we go. It's starting to look cool, huh? Now, if this is black background, then this is what background? White, exactly. Now notice when I'm going to do this square, I'm drawing inside the line, not on the outside, because this is a thick pen, and if I draw on the outside of the line, it's going to make the box bigger than I mean it to be. So you learn to adjust, accounting for the width of the line. Now, because I'm trying to be precision, I'm going to come in here with this little pen and tighten up these triangle corners, not triangle, angles, points, whatever. Okay, now I'm going to do this one. This one is going to have a black background. Now, notice I put the line to the outside of my line for this one. I hope you understand what I mean. It's kind of hard to explain. So we have this space, and all the black corners are supposed to like touch. Barely. And that's it. Same for the white corners. So you see how the white corners just barely touch? And that's what you want to do all the way. Okay. Now, notice I'm going a little bit fast. But you know why? Because you guys are watching me and I don't want you to get bored. Actually, I do watch videos on YouTube. And I like to watch people coloring and things like that because I love to see how it comes out at the end. So if you have any comments or suggestions on what you would like to see me do, or if I am not explaining things well in the video, you could always email me at jmcduffie@4kids.org. That is my email address. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have or take suggestions on lessons you'd like to see. Now, the beauty of this, any of these lessons that I'm teaching you, we're doing them on the cards because that's our format for class. But you could do any of these at any size that you like. All right, now, here I see that I have this edge lower. So I'm going to even it up. Now, I don't need a ruler to tell me that. I could just see it. And I also see that this is not quite this in the center. Time to just make an adjustment. And that's the beauty of this. It's not so much that it's incredibly hard to do, but you can begin to see what you need to do to bring it into better alignment with your goal. All right, I'm going to stop right before I get there and bring her on down. Again, I'm going to go on the outside of my circle. Now, drawing a circle is a little bit hard. I just got practice, but you can find, I keep in the studio always like circle templates for drawing circles when I need to. Tape roll is good for that. And then sometimes it's just nice to have different size circles to be able to trace if you need to have an exact circle. And never forget the ever-trusty compass. And if all else fails, you can take a pen and a string, put it on the end of a eraser, and use your pencil to draw a circle in that way. Maybe I'll show you all that one day, but with these little teeny projects, we don't really have to worry about that. All right, next we are going to do the positive shape. So we got a negative shape is the white, and the positive shape is the black. Just like that. Now, it's very important that you stay in the lines on this, because if you're messy, it's going to take away from the effect of the nice rigidity of the pattern. So sometimes messy is fine. Usually if you're doing something that's more about emotions or feelings. I do a lot of energy type drawings, and it's completely opposite of this. It's not precision whatsoever. So it just all depends on what your goal is. Pretty quickly, our drawing is coming together. Doesn't it look nice? Now this is just a way of learning how to alternate. There's a pretty, it seems very simple, but a lot of people have trouble with this and understanding the difference between where the black and where the white goes. In this instance, the black never touches the black, except for in those corners where the kind of noses kiss, and the white does not touch the white. And it alternates every other one. So we've got a couple of patterns going here. We've got the black and white pattern, and we also have the shape pattern. And we also have the alternating pattern. So the more complex you get, the more things you can add to this pattern. And, you know, a lot of patterns that you see on clothing and stuff are very complex. Lots of colors, lots of shapes, lots of repetition. And really, the human eye likes pattern because we love to find connections in things. So this is very soothing to the brain to even just look at it. Most of my students go, oh, that looks cool. And I wasn't even really trying to make anything that looked cool so much as I was just trying to work out ways to teach pattern. Because again, it is how... one of the ways that we can use math in our work. And I like it because it helps you hone your eye in seeing and recognize the shapes that you're creating. And if you are, you know, need to move it, change it, whatever you want to do. And this is small enough that if you make an error, toss it, start over. If you're doing a great big one like this, which you can see in museums, like just imagine this huge wall filled with this, you know, it's, and there are art like that. It's called kind of field paintings where it takes up your whole field of vision. And we'll get into that at a later date, maybe. Oh, I took a dare. I did it with a big pen. I'll go in and sharpen up those corners here in just a second. And there's the last one. So once you have it drawn, you really want to pay attention when you're drawing it, right? Because you don't want to mess it up. Maybe next time we'll get into anomalies. An anomaly is when you add a change into a pattern. So anomaly will become the most important part. Now, for those of you who've been working with me for a while, what do you think I got to do? You're right. Now, I do want to make sure that it is dry completely before I start hitting it with the eraser, because otherwise it's going to smear. The ink could smear. Now, usually a Sharpie absorbs right away, so it's not really a problem. But if you're using a ballpoint pen, definitely make sure that your ink is dry before you hit it with the eraser, because then you smear the ink everywhere, and that's not good. Now notice I'm just going very softly here, but I drew softly, so I don't have to erase real hard at all. Boom. Okay, now what I have here is a reverse image. Check it out. So if I put the two together, it's continuing of the pattern. So you can make it bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So there you go. I hope you enjoyed our steam lesson today. Have a wonderful evening, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.